Hey everybody, and welcome back to Investment Honey, where we talk about various crypto projects. Before we begin, as always, I'm not your financial advisor, and we never provide investment advice on the channel. With that said, if you're somebody new joining us, thank you so much for checking the series out and supporting the channel. If you're somebody that's been with us from the very beginning or somewhere along the way, thank you for continuing to keep up with what's going on here in the series. So we're going to take a look at a few tokens, and then we'll move into discovery and go through our normal process. Again, if for any of the new folks, make sure that you check out the first video of the series, kind of go ahead and take you through, just some introductions and let you know how things are going to flow through the video. So looking at Dark Solana, we caught this one at 165, I believe, so you can see that here in the notes. This is where we keep our notes. And, obviously the market cap right now is at 151 according to the tab here. This right here, we know, as always, this will catch up. So, but the reason why I want to point this out to you is a lot of times I tell you guys, if we see a token, go on a run, we can see this one here, we can see another run here, we can see another one here, another spike here, another one, and another one, and another one. A lot of times tokens don't typically continue to follow this pattern where you see run after run after run, and then accompanied, by a lot of retracement. We don't typically see that, and I've mentioned many times in other videos that we've done through the series that it is a lot to ask, of a chart of a token to continue to do that. I have, however, mentioned that there are exceptions. So for this one in particular, for Dark Solana, this one seems to be one of the exceptions. Now, I can't tell you with any certainty, with any amount of certainty, that it will continue to be able to pull this off, okay? But the reason why I'm highlighting it is for two reasons. One, to point out to you this pattern that we're seeing in terms of the run and then the heavy retracement, the runs and then the retracement, the run and then the heavy retracement, and we're constantly seeing that on this chart. Like I said, we've taken a look at a number of different charts, throughout the series, and you don't continue to see that pattern take place because, as I've mentioned before, it is a lot to ask for, on a chart, and for the buy pressure to continue to be there in this way, accompanied, by heavy sell pressure, and then continue to recover, it is certainly an exception to the rule in terms of what we continue to see amongst, a host of different charts that we've taken a look at so far. So, but, with this one, we still got the alerts, set. Both of them, did trigger. So for this one, since we're sitting at 146, what we can do, for this one on the over, we can just go ahead and reset this one. Okay, there's no need to, to really edit it. I mean, we could, since it's sitting at 143, I mean, we could go ahead and make this edit, maybe, 165 instead of 185, since we're dealing with a different market cap, as far as like a found or an updated found market cap, we could do that here, so I'll just show you that. Now on the under, we're sitting at 143, we could adjust the under to maybe something a bit, lower if we like, but we certainly want to reset this one, so we'll edit this one and we'll set the under to, let's go to 100. I don't know if it's going to retrace that much, but again, on all these runs, we have seen heavy retracement, so it is a possibility, so, and then we can adjust the found here, to 148, since that's currently what it's showing. So we'll do that. And then I'm just going to make a notation that this is an updated, updated note. So we'll do the same thing here. We'll set this one at 148 and we will call this one updated. So that tells us, and you could do something like, update number 1, update number 2. I don't think that's really necessary. I think at the end of the day, the reason why, as I've mentioned several videos ago, why you come back in and you make that additional notation is just to let you know that you did find this at a different market cap initially, and then you're just updating the note to reflect that this is an updated adjustment, to not only to the market cap, in terms of the over in this particular case, but on the note that, this is where we're adjusting, the over, because the market cap has changed. So that's what we're going to do here. So we're going to leave it, and so now both of these are active again, and there has been continued movement. I like to mention that when you're looking at the buy transactions area, even if you don't see a flurry of transactions taking place, you do want to see activity. right? And I've also mentioned before that you can always go to your 5-minute. Typically for me personally, what I want to see is at least 10 buys within 5 minutes. So just like I've got that 10-minute rule, when you go into a channel and I want to see a buy within the last 10 minutes, here in this area, and this is another good use of this area, is that you can go to the 5-minute block here, and each one of these has their own block, their own tab. So you can see the different information as it changes as you go from tab to tab. So in the 5-minute here, I definitely want to see at least 10 buys. Typically, I want to stay under 20 sells, in that 5-minute block, but there are always going to be exceptions. You can take a look at that, instance to instance, in each scenario and see what that looks like. You just don't want to see a ton of sells outweighing the buys, but in terms of seeing activity in the buy transaction or in this transaction area, seeing at least a minimum, of 10 buys, at least that says that the chart is not stale. And that's just good information, to have in terms of how you operate, when you're looking at particular tokens. So I will also make this, mention and reminder that even that tidbit of information, this is the reason why I encourage you guys, make sure that you're watching more of the video, because I, in the course of, giving you guys information, insights, things that I may look for, when I'm looking at a chart, you're not going to know that if you're skipping around, in the videos. And I get YouTube, browsing behavior where you see maybe a video that's like an hour and you're going to go ahead and, skip through different parts of it. But that's how you miss a lot of information. So as we go through the series, there'll be instances where I'll point out little things, little nuances that you may want to go ahead and look at. And these things do help you in terms of isolating and targeting the types of tokens that may provide, may show or, some evidence of potential that you may want to keep an eye on. Even if you don't jump into it, it may be something that you want to set an alert for, that you want to watch. And it may be something that, depending on the activity and what alerts to trigger, that it may lead you to decide to take an entry. Now, keep in mind, as always, I keep this disclaimer, in a lot of these videos, we're not a channel, that encourages you to invest, but we know you're engaging with crypto-related content, so the likelihood of you investing, is probably high, but we still have to make that disclaimer anyway. So with that being said, on Dark Solana, we're going to leave this one alone. But I think, the other reason why I bring this up is because based on the activity, there is a chance that this could continue to exceed some of its prior all-time highs. Again, a lot of things being asked for on this chart, considering it's already had several runs, but it continues to see activity, which could indicate that it could actually surpass its previous all-time high. Okay, so we're going to close this one out. Now, looking here at Renee French, this is one that we didn't talk about necessarily on the channel, but I set an alert for this one anyway. Now, and beyond that, I'll highlight to you the alert that was set on this one. I actually found this one several days ago. So we're saying here that this was, the alert here was created 4 days ago. All right, and I watched this one. Found it at 89K, at least that's the time that I set the alert. But I also went ahead and I went, to the main channel. And for those of you that may not be aware, this is the Crimson's Call Telegram channel, so, this is also one of those channels that the Investment Honey channel, on YouTube is associated with. So if you're not a part of this channel, I certainly encourage you to definitely consider subscribing to the channel. I don't always make calls on the channel, every day, but there may be several days in between, depending on what's going on with the market, depending what I'm seeing, Dexscreener, depending what I'm seeing in regards to a lot of different, sources that I may refer back to in terms of looking for something that might be worthwhile. But this one, if we look at Renee, let's see here, let's go up, go up, go up. So you can see, even though I found it, in Dexscreener and set the alert for 89K, I didn't call this one here until 131K. Okay, and so, and I provided some narrative information, here in terms of coming across the token. Hadn't really been familiar with the name, but in terms of things that I was looking at, there was a social presence, a pretty decent, sizable, amount of interest, on social media in regards, to this particular token. So even though I hadn't heard of it, clearly, as I mentioned here, apparently a bunch of other people have. So based on what I was looking at the chart, if we go back to the chart here, It kind of looks a little odd in terms of the patterns, and I don't particularly care to jump into tokens that look like this, where they've got like, these big spikes in terms of their buy candles, but looking at how long this token had been alive. So we're looking at the end of January, coming into February. So, I mean, it's been alive for several days, okay? And people weren't dumping the token. Clearly there's still sales taking place, but they weren't dumping it. And then even when you looked, in this area, this doesn't really look that promising when you're looking at nothing going on in the 5-minute, minus on the 1 hour, minus isn't too bad, and almost a minus 20 on the 6 hour. Your 24 hour isn't really that impressive, either, okay? And then when you go into the channel, their channel at the time of me even looking at this, I think they had like under 30 people in there. So you don't have very many people going on, in the channel. Some of the things that we look for when we look into a channel right away, those things didn't even exist. So if we go back, over here, you can see, I'm going to go back down here, that this finally did, reach a 2x, from the time of the call. Now, based on, the alert set in, Dexscreener, obviously it did better than a 2x, right? So, but even as I provided an additional note, to everybody here on the channel, there were still only 60 members at the time of me making that update. So you're talking only 60 members in the channel, which is incredibly low for a token that has touched over 250,000 on their market cap. They didn't have any of this. They didn't have any trending, any boosts, any raids, no nitro, no paid callers, none of those typical catalysts that we look for in terms of trying to move a token. None of that stuff existed in that particular channel. Now, was the buy bot active? The buy bot certainly was active. You see a lot of buys, over the span of time that token has been alive. But all these catalysts that are typically when we go into, and this has happened in this series, we go in, we spend maybe a couple of minutes, in the channel going ahead and investigating what kind of catalysts that they have going on, marketing wise, to go ahead and move the token, to get it some additional exposure, to bring, new holders, new buyers in. None of that exists in this particular token. So it's a very unique example where you don't necessarily need to have all of those catalysts to go ahead and move the token. And clearly for this one, I would imagine, I don't think this is even close to being done. Now, yesterday, and we talk about the weekends and what that can look like for a lot of tokens in terms of retracement and so forth, it was looking pretty ugly for this one yesterday. Now, you can see this one, it went to as low as 48K. That was the low point yesterday. And out of nowhere, this thing jumps up to 260 plus K on the market cap. So, I mean, to think that it looked like the buy pressure was completely gone, and by all accounts, it really looked like there was no more buys that were coming into this. But I think that the social presence, people simply know what this meme is. And so even though they don't have a large subscriber count, in their Telegram channel, it does, if you still have a large social presence, there are people actually actively looking, for a token associated, with this particular meme. And that, I think, has served to be the catalyst. Now, 48K would have been an incredible entry on this one, because I still think that this one, I suspect this one could still, touch 400K. That's what I suspect. I don't know for sure. I'm never going to tell you guys, with any definitive certainty that that's exactly what it's going to do. But I do suspect that this one is not done. I have watched this for days, and I do not think this one's over. I was skeptical yesterday. I wasn't really sure. I think people, as I mentioned to you guys before, when charts do get stale, they get, and there's nothing going on, people get antsy. Certainly is the case just about every weekend. Impatient holders to decide to go ahead and sell their bags. And there were plenty of people yesterday that sold, pretty decent token amounts. Some people went ahead and dumped their entire bags, yesterday because they felt like, nothing's going on. This isn't going to go ahead and recover, and they left it. And what a mistake, that was. And I, trying to highlight to you guys in terms of patterns that I see, weekends are typically, notorious for lower trade volume. Weekends are notorious for a lot of tokens to see holders leave their tokens because there isn't as much volume. And that impatience leads people to make, those kind of emotional decisions. I pointed out, in the Telegram that you need to, you really have to be convicted sometimes. And so this is, again, as I said right here, just another reminder on conviction. This one did retrace pretty hard, but if you were convicted in this and you really understood, the social presence behind this, you would have known that, hey, the weekend is a terrible time to go ahead and make a decision as to whether you want to stay or leave, just because the dynamics for a lot of tokens change over the weekends based on the fact that the charts do slow down, typically almost every weekend. And holders that go ahead and get impatient typically always leave, tokens probably that they shouldn't leave because it's the weekend and there's not as much activity. In crypto, there's just typically not a lot of activity on the weekends. There are exceptions, but for a lot of tokens across the board, and especially, when the market's down, that coupled with typical weekend behavior, you're going to see a lot of tokens where people just go ahead and decide to leave, and they probably shouldn't. So just keep that in mind, even as you consider, your own trading activities, that even right now we see a wall of red, but that's exactly what was seen yesterday. And then it just took off out of nowhere. So for this one, putting this on your radar, if anybody wants to take a look at this one and, make a decision, you can take a look at their channel. Like I said, there's not a lot going on in the channel. It's a pretty quiet channel, but there is still activity, on this one. So I'm going to go ahead and close this one out for you guys. And then we're going to look at Node Sphere AI. This one we caught, I think, pretty early. This one was at 209 that we caught this one. And this one was 4 days ago. Okay. So we've talked about this one, before in regards to an update, but this is the kind of chart you want to see. I mean, this chart does look really, really good. And even with that $1,400 sell right here, it is accompanied right away, followed up right away by a $3,000 buy, which eats up, anything, that $1,400, sale made. So, and they obviously, you can look here, they're in profit. I mean, the P&L was $300, but at the end of the day, looking at this chart, and that's where, as I tell you guys, you always want to make sure that you remove your initials, and then if you think that it's going to continue to move, obviously keep, in my personal opinion, something that I tend to do, keep 10 or 20% in, take, that 80 to 90% out, so that you secure those initials. So, because you want to go ahead and make sure you leave with some profit, right? So, but with that being said, like I said, we caught this one at 290. The all-time high for this one is not 1.4. It's actually higher than that. So we're looking at 1.7, according to this candle wick. So really good gains, in regards to this one. So if you have not, paid attention to this particular token, might be something to go ahead and take a look at. For me personally, if I was coming in at this juncture, I'd be looking for retracement probably back to the 1 million mark. I don't know that it's going to get back down here into that 600, 700, 800K mark, unless, there's something that leads to some panic selling, or just some really big holders deciding to go ahead and dump their bags because they're just tired of holding. But it's possible, it's always possible. So especially considering the weekend. Now, when I talk about weekend trading behavior, obviously this one is one of those exceptions. So you're not seeing a ton of retracement. You're seeing, that the token is continuing to move, and regardless of the fact that it's a weekend. If we even look at the 5-minute here, we don't have a ton of buys taking place, but almost 20 buys. In the last, hour, we're talking about over 150 buys. Those are the kind of metrics that you want to be taking a look at, So like I said, I typically don't operate, off of the 1 hour. I'm typically going to operate off the 5-minute. If I'm going to go ahead and do a search, and that's something that you can obviously go into Dexscreener and do that, through the filters. But my filter for this, would be pretty simple. I'd be looking for at least 10 buys and no more than 20 sells. That's probably what I'd be looking for. and then I set my market cap or whatever I'm going to set it at. So just again, this is one to consider. Take a look at this one, decide how you want to go ahead and operate with respect to node. If you are not, if you haven't taken a look at this one, so far. So we're going to go over to the filters now, but just give me a moment and then we'll take a look, what we got going on here. All right, guys, so we're going to go into the filters here. I'm going to go ahead and reset this real quick. And then, so here we go. Now we're going to, I think we're going to just look at Solana and Ethereum today, since we've been looking at the last, BSC and base, for the last couple of videos. And so liquidity, as always, we're going to go ahead and keep the same. And I'm going to show you what I was talking about. So we're going to go to the 5 minutes here. And I know it's one thing to go ahead and tell you, but it's another thing to show you visually. Okay. So here on the 5 minute, we want to see a minimum of 10 buys. Okay. And then on the 5 minute on the sells, we want to see no more than 20 sells. Okay. Now, I don't necessarily, sorry guys, I'm trying to wipe something off my keyboard here. It's kind of driving me nuts. Okay, so let's go back to 20. All right, so here we go. So no more than 10 buys and no more than 20 sells here in the 5 minutes. So that's how you accomplish this, in the filter section. Okay, we're not going to touch anything else. We're not going to touch anything else here in the 1 hour. We're not going to do anything here with the 6 hour. We're not going to do anything here with the 24 hour. Typically, keep in mind, especially if you're new, this is something a little different. We typically don't go ahead and mess around, with anything other than the 24 hour, values. We typically just stay here, and then everything else is just pretty open. We don't mess with it. Okay. So you're coming into the series at a point where I'm doing something a little bit different. So, and there'll be times, where I do show you guys some additional things you can do with the filters. I've had other videos, where I've gone into some additional things that you can go ahead and do, here with the filters. And that'll happen from time to time. That's not on a schedule. That's not anything pre-planned. I like the videos to be pretty fluid, so if it's something where it makes sense to go ahead and talk about the additional things you can do in the filters, then I'll do it in, at the time of the recording. But like I said, none of that is ever really pre-planned. So as far as the market cap is concerned, we're going to go ahead and just go to 50. We're going to start at a 50,000 as always. We're going to keep the max market cap open. The age, not going to go ahead and touch it. So if we need to go ahead and filter or adjust anything else, we'll do that. Right now, I just want to focus on the fact that the market cap is going to be above 50,000, and the only thing we are going to be highlighting is going to be, no more, or well, at least 10 buys, in the 5 minute, and no more than 20 sells. Okay, so we're going to click apply, and we're focusing on 2 chains. Okay, those 2 chains are going to be Solana and Ethereum. All right, and then what we can see here, and right now, I've got all this information here. And this may seem a little bit overwhelming, but what we typically do, we go into our configuration and then we go and we adjust it. So we streamline this information. So I'll do that right now for you so you can see, especially if you're new. If anybody's been, following the series for any amount of time, they already know what I'm about to do. All right, so we're going to go over here to the gear and we're going to adjust, what our dashboard looks like. We're going to keep, the price. We're going to get rid of price. Sorry, keep age, get rid of transactions, volume. We're going to keep makers. We're going to keep, or actually, sorry, get rid of the makers here. We're going to get rid of we're going to keep all of the time frame. Sorry, guys, I'm getting tongue-tied. And we're going to get rid of liquidity. Okay, so this is all the things that I typically need to see. This is what I want to keep. I don't really care for the rest of the information. All right, so you can see this is really streamlined. So now we don't have all that extra stuff here, and it just makes it a little bit easier to read, in my personal opinion. So all of this is going to target no more than 20 sells and at least 10 buys in that 5 minute area. Okay, so, and right now it's being sorted, by the 5 minute. Doesn't really matter, but right now, when it's sorted by the 5 minutes, just showing us, who has the most activity and volume, in the last 5 minutes. All right. So if we look at MagaBook, let's just take that one for example. What we'll see is exactly, what we're talking about. Now it's going to, by default, it's going to go to your 24-hour tab. Okay. And the other thing that I don't really focus on, doing this example is I don't really care, about what the socials are. I just don't. Okay, we're only focusing on making sure that it lined up, matched the parameters that we put in the filters. So Here on the 5-minute, we can see we had at least 10 buys. So you can see that evidenced right here with 19 buys and no more than 20 sells. So here, no more than 20 sells, only 11 sells. Okay. Now I'm not sitting here looking at, whether this looks like it's a scam or not. I just want to focus on showing you what you want to see in this area. Okay. So I'm going to close this one out, and then we're going to go to, let's just open up, some other ones. Experiment X is one I saw yesterday. Trenchers, Crumbcat, Sure Pizza. Okay. We can look at this one. What else? Larry the Bird. I think I've seen that. I saw that one recently as well. That one didn't open. Okay, so there we go. Let me see here. What else we got? Grok AI Agent. We'll open that one up too. AI Ring Complex. Okay, so with all of these, all right, and like I said, it's going to go and default over to the 24-hour. You want to go and go to your 5-minute, and we should see that it matches exactly what we were looking for. Okay, so at least 10 buys, we get 23. And no more than 10 sells. And we only have 1 sell. All right, so if we go to this one right here, we go to the 5-minute. We get at least 10 buys. We're looking at 21. No more than 20 sells. Only 14. Here, and keep in mind, we still have these tabs to get to. So it could be that when we get to this last tab, maybe the data's changed. We've already opened the tab up, but it would have disappeared, from our results, here. So looking at trenchers, we're looking at 5 minutes. At least 10 buys, no more than 20 sells. Looking at Crumbcat, you go straight to the 5-minute. At least 10 buys, no more than 20 sells. Let's see, at least here, at least 10 buys, no more than 20 sells. All right, so you can see it did a great job of making sure that it matched our parameters. No more than 10, at least 10 buys, no more than 20 sells. And here we go to 5 minutes, at least 10 buys, and see this one changed. So, and here it's towards the end, right? But here's what I would tell you. We wouldn't see Larry the Bird back in here. We shouldn't see it anymore because it's already changed. So, and I know there's a lot to go through here, but yeah. So like I said, as we get to the end, it could change, and that's exactly what happened. But now you can see it change back, so it's fluctuating right now, but you can see that at one point there was at least 10 buys. And now the sells are over 20. So this one would be out, okay? And I said that before, that because we opened up a bunch of tabs, the information could change, and that's exactly what happened. I'm glad you saw that example of that. But here we see, and that also depends on the volatility of the chart. If we open Larry the Bird back up, we can see that there should be, some pretty decent volatility in terms of their buy transaction area. So we were seeing this one, move, quite a bit, and even now the numbers continue to go ahead and change. And what's that evidence? What is that evident of? That's evident of activity. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and close this one out. This one did match, as well. And then if we look, here, at ARC or AI Ring Complex, this one obviously changed, right? So, and I said before, I'm going to highlight it again, that the one thing that we want to pay attention to is that if you're going to open up a bunch of tabs, by the time you get to your last tab, especially if you got a bunch of them open, it could have fallen outside of your window, the parameter of what you're looking for, which in this case was at least 10 buys, no more than 20 sells. So for this one, I wouldn't want to touch this one because there's so much sell activity. Okay, I don't want to target something with a ton of sell activity. So so that's just something to keep in mind. I don't know if it's going to let me close all the ones to the right. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so with that being said, we're going to go back into our filters. I think we're more than 20 minutes into our video, so I think it's time that we get into discovery mode here. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and remove these values. Okay. And since I had talked about that prior to the filters, I wanted to show you exactly what that would look like, so that if you wanted to do the same thing, you wanted to go ahead and put those values to target tokens, that match those parameters, no at least 10 buys in the last 5 minutes, no more than 20 sells in the last 5 minutes, that you could see visually how to do that. Now, everything else, is clear now. We're going to go ahead and do what we normally do. We want 10% in that minimum value on the 24-hour change. We have our 2 chains selected. We don't have to do anything here on the Dex side because we've selected multiple chains. Our liquidity we never touch, as you guys already know, especially anybody that's been following the series for a while. Market cap, we'll go ahead and we'll do our minimum of 50,000, and we're going to go to 200K. All right. And then pair age, we're going to go ahead and start out with 1 hour, to 50 hours. All right, so we're going to be targeting new stuff, as always. And remember, with newer tokens, there is a higher likelihood, for scams and so forth. So keep that in mind. All right, we're going to click apply. And then, as always, we're going to tick off our 24-hour here to see the greatest amount of volume, in the last 24 hours. So, and we're going to see, we said 10% minimum, so it did match that we wouldn't see anything under 10% here in the 24-hour column. All right, because that's where we put that 10% value in, just to highlight that to you guys. There's that 10%. That's where we get that matching it, here in the, in the dashboard. So nothing less than 10% here. Okay, so next thing we're going to do, we're going to open up some tabs. We do get some scammy stuff, so keep in mind, as always, you see that box with that question mark. It means that, we typically don't want to target those. Tend to see a higher level of scams, associated with that. So if you're somebody new, if you see that, a lot of times these tokens do get flagged, for whatever reason. So we typically don't target those. Okay, so with that being said, we're looking for some stuff that's got some volume. So I can go ahead and I can scan through here, and what you'll see right away utilizing this particular layout is that you can see right away, what doesn't have any volume. If you see a blank, it means there's nothing going on, right? So, but as I've shown you guys in the last few videos, you can automatically go here to the 5 minute, and it will automatically sort by, the tokens that have had the most volume in the last 5 minutes, which is an easy way to go ahead and target, your tokens that are looking for, that have some activity. Okay, so we'll open up, these that are sitting up here at the top. And we'll take over, phase, Atomify AI, sure. And the rest of these, they're sitting in the minuses, but it doesn't mean that they don't have any activity, right? So it just means in the last 5 minutes, there's no real activity. So we can still take a look at those. You can always go ahead and still see, what's going on in the hour, the last 6 hours. So even though for this one, this one's got one of those boxes with a question mark, which means we're not going to go and touch that one. But dog, .zip, this one has some activity, right? Minus 12% on the 5 minute, but they have a plus 17, on the hour. All right, and let's see. And you don't have to go ahead and do it that way. You could just go ahead and decide, okay, now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to sort by the 1 hour, so, and that's still may bring up some stuff that you've already opened, but again, it's another way of quick sorting to go ahead and see, what you may have missed the first time around. Like this one, I know we didn't open up, so we can open this one up too. Okay, so we're going over here to Dignity. Okay, so Homer, or the Simpsons, theme here. Now we get back into our scanning phase, right? So what's our scanning phase? Looking at the chart, and then also making sure that we have a telegram. So we're going to go ahead and close this one out since we don't see a telegram. All right, and then here we get a telegram on this one. We're going to look at the 5 minutes, see if we can see more of the chart. So this one doesn't look too bad, so we'll keep this one open. Hootie on this one, let's look at the 15 minutes. Looks like they're definitely in the midst of an uptrend. They do have a telegram. We'll keep this one. And this one here, looking at the 5 minute, 15 minute, they got a telegram. Could be a bit of an uptrend, so we'll keep this one open as well. This one, let's see, this is criminals take over. So this is obviously talking about our current administration. That's some people's sentiment, whoever decided to go ahead and start this token. So pretty strong buy candle right here. They've got a telegram. We will keep this one open. So you can see the speed at which, we're doing this. Quick look at the chart. Do they got a telegram? If they do, you like the chart, go ahead and leave it. Okay. And that's what you want to do because you got a lot of data to go ahead and comb through when it comes to Dexscreener. So this one, they had some pretty decent retracement, but they're looking like they could be heading back up, maybe. This one, I'd like to see what the 5 minute looks like just to see more of what's going on here. And then you can even go out to the 1 minute to see what's going on. So it looks like it was multiple buys that were starting this uptrend. But sometimes with these uptrends, it can just be, like buys peeking through and then somebody, crashing the party by deciding to go ahead and dump a bunch of tokens, but so far, looks like they're making a little bit of a move. So we'll continue to keep this one, open for now. They got a telegram. So, and then on this one, which is Atomify, 5 minute, the 15, okay. So the chart looks pretty decent. And we're going to keep it because I do have a telegram on this one. And then for this one, not really crazy about this pattern right in here. So we're going to close this one out. And then here on the 15 minutes, not crazy about this one either. Looking at a lot of red here. Let's see if, where the buys are. So I'm skeptical that when we go back, maybe check out this Telegram, that there would have actually been a recent buy. We'll keep it open for now. We're going to go ahead and see if we can pick up just a few more tokens before we go ahead and move into checking out the channels. So we're going to go 201 to 500. And 500 usually is our max, on this channel in terms of, checking things out, because the whole focus is how do you go ahead and find stuff, where you're pretty early. I tend to think, anything 500K and under is pretty early. Some people may have a different mentality about that. Some people may think that, if you can get into a token under 1 million, you're early, because again, some of these tokens can go to the hundreds of millions, but we have to understand that those are the exceptions. Okay. I mean, you can go a whole week and not see, more than maybe 3 or 4 or 5, tokens hit, hundreds of millions, on the market cap, which means most of them won't, which is why I tend to keep our max, on the channel as we go through the series at 500K or below. All right, so with that being said, we're going to go ahead and click apply and see what we got. So we're going to go straight to the quick filtering, of the 5 minutes, so Grok 3, we didn't open this one before. Fartball, I saw this one yesterday. And I think that one actually migrated from Pump Fund, did really, really well. Let's see here, Mr. Beast, jail them all. So this one I think is well, we'll see what this one is. I don't want to speculate. And then let's look at Delta AI. And then what we'll do another quick filter, here on the 1 hour, see if we missed anything. So Trippy, I don't know what this one is, but we'll take a look at it. X experiment, sure, we'll open that one up too. Okay, all right, so I think we're good. We're going to go over here quick to Grok 3. And so there is some news in regards to Grok 3. I think something's coming out tomorrow, from Elon. I think it has something to do with Grok 3. I think it has something to do with, naming it like the smartest AI on the planet. Something like that. I don't know, but either way, there's some Grok news that's coming out, so you're seeing a lot of Grok tokens, being deployed today. You're definitely going to see that tomorrow is what would be my guess. So we're gonna check this one out. They do have a Telegram. Not really crazy about this chart. Really strong candle here. They got some sells that were traced, to this level, and then it came back up. So, but I am curious to see what the Telegram looks like, and then we'll make a determination from there. Fartball, this one again, yeah, migrated from Pump Fund. This was, I believe this was yesterday. Yep, so we can see, what they did. So pretty strong, and then retraced, and then obviously they're still making some moves. So, which I thought this was pretty clever in terms of a meme, so they got a Telegram. We'll take a look at it. Here, GLMO. So here we're talking about, just what people have, or what whoever deployed this token is talking about, are essentially falling within this theme of GLMO. So maybe doing some things that, were not necessarily good, so, but like I said, I won't speculate on that. I do not like the chart pattern on this. There are charts, as we've seen many, many times, that look, like they're legitimate, and others where we see that they may not look, like they're legitimate based on the different candle patterns, on the chart, So, and this to me is one where I am highly speculative as to whether this is actually legit or not, regardless of the buys that we're seeing right now. So we're going to close this one out. And then this one too, looking at 5 minute, definitely not something that looks like a healthy chart to me. So we're going to leave that one alone. And then Trippy here, this one looks like it could be a fun token. I don't know. So what we're going to do, we'll keep this one for now. I think the chart looks okay. And then Experiment X, this one was one that deployed from Pump Fund and did well. And so it's still alive, so definitely exceeding what the norm is for a lot of Pump Fund tokens. You see a lot of them that are deployed that never do anything at all. And even when they hit the bonding curve, a lot of them dump, so yeah. And I'm even still working on doing my own research to find, to be able to figure out, how to discover more of those tokens that have a higher chance of bonding and then staying alive too. So, but it is definitely an ongoing part of my research. So with that being said, we'll definitely keep this one open, as well. So we got a bunch of them to take a look at here. If I see anywhere the charts have just kind of, died off, or they're just kind of heading in the wrong way, we'll go ahead and we'll close those out, but for now, we're going to take what we've got here in the tabs and we're going to start going into the channel to see if we want to set some alerts. So here we go. We're going to close it or check that so we don't constantly have to see that. And we get a buy right away on this one. This is Dave Trenchnoy. So the buy came in at 103. That's what I got on my clock. So we're looking for some evidence of rating and trending. So here we go. And remember, just like I mentioned, with that Renee token, none of those things that we typically look for exist, but that's the exception, not the norm. You typically, for a lot of tokens, you need to see those kind of catalysts, for the tokens to get any kind of movement. Renee, that token, the exception there is because they have such a massive, social presence, and that's really what's driving that one. So they don't. I think having the additional catalysts, like the raids, the trending, and the callers, and nitro and boost, those things I think would probably move that token a lot faster. But it also brings in a lot more short-term holders because we know that those catalysts that you go and you pay for typically don't bring in your long-term type of holding crowd. They typically bring in your short-term holders, right? So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and keep moving up. So we're looking for any kind of sign of trending. We're not seeing any kind of sign of trending in this one, which we probably would have already. I just said we would have already seen that, but this one looks like it's at the bottom of the chart. So let's see if they're still actively trending. So we're going to join this just so we can get back, into the token pretty easily. We'll take a look, here. And we're looking at 12, so they would have been, okay, so there it is. So it's still on the leaderboard. All right, so let me see here if they're going to kick me out because so you have to go ahead and do, double verification on this one. So, all right, so now that I don't get that message anymore. But either way, this one, I think let's go back out here and let's see if it makes sense. So this one I think makes sense to go ahead and set some alerts, so let's set 2 of them on this one. This is setting at 155. And here, this is 156. So, 150, 156 is going to be the found market cap on this. So there we go, copy it, and then go to your market cap. On the over, let's go and let's set this one at 175. Okay, so 20K over. And then we'll go to the under, and we're going to set this one at 125. A little bit larger deviation from the found market cap. I'm going to close it out, and then looking here at Hootie, let's see what they got going on. This right away, we can see it's a CTO, and we're looking for them to go and, we're looking for evidence of active moderation because this is spam, obviously. So far, it's had to be cleared, and let's see here. We'll see if they cleared by the time we come back down. Looking for any raids going on. We don't see any active raids, don't see any trending going on. So none of that's going on, as I continue to go ahead and scroll up, and then we continue to see that spam. So I am not a fan of seeing the spam not being addressed. Let's see here. Yeah, it's still there. So we don't have active moderation, in this one. Let me see here. I don't really even know what that is. Okay, so follow up bros. So not really anything going on, here in the pinned messages, area either. So they've got, they're on Dex, they're on the hot, Dexscreener's hot pairs. They're number 19, but you got nothing going on. So no boosts, no trending, no callers, no boost, no nitro, nothing going on to move this one. So to me, this is one we're going to go ahead and leave alone. Also because I don't really see that there's anything that the CTO team is doing to go ahead and move it. I mean, you got buys coming in, but at some point, I feel like this chart is probably going to go ahead and just go stale, and then people are going to go ahead and sell it off. So we're going to leave this one alone. So, and then here, CAC support, we don't see anything going on here in terms of boosts or ads. So the chart doesn't look too terrible, but I like to see what's going on here in the channel. So let's see, and then, okay. So just under 500 members, here in the channel. Recent buys, we got a raid going on. So looking for 4 replies, 4 retweets, 10 likes. So with almost 500 members, they should be able to complete that raid without any issues, whatsoever. Looking for any sign of trending on this one, not really seeing it so far. So it doesn't look like they're trending at all. And then not really much going on here in the pinned message area. So we're going to head back on out, on this one. And for this one as well, I think that it's probably going to go ahead and go down. Now, you guys are welcome to go ahead and still check it out, even though I'm not going to set any alerts for it. But I don't really see this one moving very much. I'd be very surprised if it did. Now, that's not to say, as I mentioned before, we can discover a token, we can go into the channel, we can look for the different catalysts to see what they're doing with respect to marketing. But let's also take this scenario into account. The moment Elon tweets something, and let's say that maybe he tweets KEK support, what is going to happen on this chart? This chart's probably going to go ahead and do a 20x right away, okay? Just because he carries that much influence in regards to a chart. Even on dead charts, we've seen that happen. So, as we know, even if I'm not setting an alert in regards to it in terms of, the time that we find it, anything can change that could serve as a catalyst to go ahead and move it. But based on what we typically look for, there's nothing that would suggest to me other than people tend to follow buys for no reason. It's just that's FOMO. And people tend to follow sells for no reason. That's panic, right? So right now people are following sells, but there's nothing moving this chart other than they've got a tiny raid going on, and that's not enough to really have any meaningful impact, in regards, to the token itself. So I'm going to close this one out. Here, this is the CTO token, criminals take over. Obviously, this candle has moved, since the last time we took a look at it. We're going to take a look, here at the Telegram. There's nothing going on here in terms of ads or boosts, but with that being said, let's see what's going on in here. Got just over 140 members in the chat. A small raid going on. Looking for 7 replies, 7 retweets, and 20 likes. Now, let's go back down here. As far as any trending going on, not seeing anything like that going on just yet. Okay, but this one came out of Pump Fund, and coming out of Pump Fund and still doing as well as it is. I mean, that's pretty good, right? So there is some activity, in terms of additional messages coming into the channel. Could be just buys, that would be my guess. All right, and as far as pinned messages are concerned, they got some stuff going on, but not a whole lot. All right. So we're going back out here. This is one where, yes, we will set an alert, but it's only going to be an under alert because of where this candle is right now. Keep in mind, I've mentioned, but this is more for the new folks, if you're looking at a chart, where your candle's this high, it doesn't make any sense for you to go ahead and throw a meaningful or substantial amount of money into this. Just because the moment you do that, somebody could decide to go ahead and dump their bags. And, let's take the scenario here. Somebody obviously top blasted this, I would imagine, and then guess what happened? The sells came, and it seemed like it was never ending. And that person had to be down at this point at least 50, 60, 70%, right? If not more than that. So, yeah, they get some relief, but at this point, this probably would have shaken out a lot of people, especially if they bought up here at the top. Or they could have decided to go ahead and DCA down, right? That's always a possibility. So for me, if I'm looking at a candle wick that's way up here, or candles way up here, I'm going to throw in maybe $2, okay? Throw in $2, and then you get a buy that's on the chart. If it goes down, obviously you're buying up here, you're getting less tokens. You buy down here, you're getting more tokens. So, but putting that buy on the chart, the reason why you do that is because you can go through Maestro. Maestro links are in the description. And then Maestro has a buy dip function, so you only have to do 2 things. Set your threshold for what you want, for where you want the bot to trigger, and then you set the buy, and then you got to click, buy dip, right? So, and then what happens is, let's say that you bought up here and you wanted it to trigger down here, right? So you set your threshold. You say maybe I want to go ahead and throw in, I don't know, maybe 0.2 SOL, okay? And then as soon as it hits that threshold, then it will go ahead and make the buy, okay? And then now you've been able to go ahead and pick up more tokens at a lower entry. That's the beauty of using Maestro and utilizing that buy dip function that I've talked about many times, throughout the series. So here we're looking at, this is saying 178, and let's see here. This is saying 182. So obviously this has moved since we came back out here, but I'm going to use 182 anyway. So we're going to go to the market cap here. We're going to put 182 as our found market cap, and we're going to make sure we select under. And so the under here for me, I would probably be looking at, 130K area, okay? So we'll see if it triggers, but if not, it's okay. We're going to go down here. This one has retraced a bit more. Since we got so many other tokens to look at, we're going to go ahead and close this one out. And this one continues to go ahead and move a little bit, so we're going to take a look at the channel. Keep in mind they've got no ads, no boosts, as we can see in the banner. And then here, let's see, just over 880 members in the group. So right away, we can see they got a raid going. Last buy came in at 112. Okay, so the buys are active and recent. All right, so I've just lost that. Okay, so here we go. Now, as far as the raid's concerned, they got a pretty good raid going on, right? So looking for 13 bookmarks, 14 replies, 15 retweets, and 20 likes. Now, the only thing they're still looking for right now to complete the raid, is the replies, because they've met the thresholds on everything else. And you see on the progress indicator, it looks pretty good. They're getting active participation, from the community, and that's exactly what you want to see when you are instituting a raid in your community. You want to see that the community members are willing to go ahead and essentially work for their bags, right? So with that being said, let's also see if they've got anything going on in the way of trending. Okay, so not really seeing that. No evidence of trending so far. Doesn't mean that they haven't ever done it, but for right now, looking at this, I don't really see any evidence of that. Okay, so they also went ahead and have a link here, to go ahead and talk about the roadmap. You don't always see that with a lot of tokens, but it's good to, I think it's a positive signal when you can see tokens that are highlighting intentionally that they do have a roadmap, for where they tend to take the token. And that can obviously be indicative of, more of a long-term token instead of something that's going to be here for an hour or a day and then it's sold off and it's dead. So, yeah, they got some stuff going on, as far as the pin messages are concerned. Like to see that. And then we're going to go back here to their chart. So makes sense to set 2 alerts on this one. So we're setting at 127 on the market cap. So it's going to go here. 127 is going to be our found market cap. On the over, let's go ahead and let's set this at 140. Oops, 140. Okay. And then on the under, let's see. Oops, sorry guys. On the under, let's go to 100K. All right. I'm going to close this one out. And then going here, I'm not really too crazy about this one. I'm going to leave it alone. Grok 3, I think it's worth paying attention, to this one. I'm curious to see what's going to come out tomorrow. But let's go and let's check out the Telegram for this one. And let's see here. So got Grok 3 AI listing at Binance. Okay, so they got a link there. Let's see here. So we're looking, okay, they're trending. So let's make sure they're active on the leaderboard. Let's go and let's join. And okay, so what's this? Okay, that's just them saying welcome. So we're looking for, there we go. So we're looking for number 7, okay, Grok AI. Okay, so there we are. They're actively trending, on that leaderboard. Anything else going on here? Okay, so at some point they got, they paid for boosts, and it's a fund for the next boost, which means they paid $4,000 for that. Let's go back out here. Let's see if that's still active. Okay, so the boost is still active, as well. So we can see, it's active. The buys coming in, and I mentioned this before. Even if you got everything, going right in terms of catalysts to go ahead and move a chart, it doesn't mean that the chart's going to continue to move, because we've seen charts that go ahead and look like they're going to go to the moon, and then within an hour they're dead. So just keep in mind, the catalysts are good to see, but they typically don't bring long-term holders. So, I've mentioned this before. If you can go ahead, if you decide to go and jump into it, if you get a 2x, get your 2x, get those initials back out, and then, leave a moon back if you think it's going to continue to move. I mean, that's completely up to you. So, for this one, we're looking at 416 on the market cap. You can't match it up here, just the way the tab is, looking. So, we're going to go with 416, on the found. All right, so 416K. We're going to set 2 alerts on this one. So on the over, let's go to 435, okay? And then on the under, let's go to 380K. All right, so there we go. Our alerts are set. We're going to leave it alone. Then Fartball, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the channel, see what they got going on. Sometimes with these pump fund ones, they don't actually set up a real Telegram, but this one is one of the exceptions, it looks like. Maybe. Let's see what else they got going on, because I'm not seeing any recent buys on this. So no recent buys, just a lot of mentions, so for this one, I would say just leave it alone, because it wouldn't make any sense for them not to have a buy bot, in here, right? So, and the reason why we're not seeing, so there's the buy bot. The reason why we're not seeing the buy bot is because there haven't been any recent buys in the last 5 minutes. So at least it doesn't look like it. Let me make sure that, because it just could be just that this is just a lot of, nah, I'm right, because you can see the time frame here. We got a welcome here at 1:15. The last buy bot would have been hours ago. So I'm gonna go back out here. We're gonna leave this one alone. So they did well yesterday, but yeah, they're really not doing a whole lot going on right now, which is, and we can see that here, minus 10, minus 11% on the 5-minute. So, I mean, you got more sells than you have buys going on, and there's not a lot of activity in terms of buy pressure. So we're going to leave it alone. Oh, they just had a buy come in. Okay, so let's see here, because I'm curious to see if that buy bot is actually, actively working. So this buy, we actually just saw this one come in. So let's go back out to the Telegram. We see another buy that just came in. So yeah, so something's going on with their buy bot, because obviously we just saw a couple of buys come in, and we're not seeing the buys actually reflected here in the buy bot or in the channel. So tell you what, let's go ahead, let's continue to look at this one, see if they got anything else going on here. Yeah, it's just weird that they don't have their buy bots just not working actively. Okay, so I don't see any signs of rating. We don't see anything going on trending wise. Now it says here that there was trending, and this would have been probably yesterday. Let's take a look at this. Yeah, this would have been yesterday. So at one point they were trending, but they're not doing that anymore. So for this one in particular, all right, I'll tell you what. Since we still see activity, even if their buy bot's not working, let's go ahead and let's set 2 alerts on front ball. Looking at 342 as far as the found market cap, so there we go. Copy that, and we're going to go straight to market cap. On the over, we're going to set this one for 360K. All right, and then on the under, let's see here, let's paste this in. On the under, I'm going to go ahead and set it at 300K. Okay, so there we go. So with this one, we're going to go and close this one out. And then looking here at Trippy looks like, it's not doing so hot right now. But we just saw another buy come in. So let's take a look at their channel. I did see a small boost, 10x boost, so, and then this buy, this is not a new holder. This is somebody increasing their position. We can see that right here. So let's see, they got a small raid, or they got a raid going on. It's kind of small. All right, so this one's a new holder. That's 118. So that was a minute ago. So we'll still go ahead and keep this one. So they got the raid going on. We're looking for any sign of trending, right away. And let's see here. Not seeing that yet. Not seeing that. Not seeing that. So, okay, so it doesn't look like they're trending. Let's look at the pinned messages. Not a lot going on here in the pinned messages area either. So, okay, so we're going to go back out here and tell you what, I think it makes sense to set 2 alerts on this one. So this was sitting at 364 on the found. So let's go to market cap. We're going to go 364K. Copy that, and then going over, we're going to say 360. Oops, sorry about that. We're looking at 380. 380K. I think that's 380. Yeah, right. Okay, so on the under, we're looking at, I think, 320K on the under for me personally. So 1, 2, 3. Okay, so there we go. We're going to close that one out, and then Experiment X. This one's still moving, so we're going to take a look at their channel, see what we got going on here. Right away, we can see evidence of a raid. This one is still working to completion. They weren't looking for any bookmarks, 4 retweets, 4 comments, and 15 likes. So they're making some progress. They're about halfway there. And let's see here. No trending so far. Got the raid going. Let's see here. Okay, what's going on here? Okay, so make this group buy tracker only. That's just a poll for the community. So anybody holding more than 0.5%, they want you guys to go. They want any holders, holding that kind of supply to DM the owner. Maybe they're thinking about creating, they are to create a whale channel. Okay, so yeah, they really are trying to go ahead and get those members to say something, because obviously people do go ahead and check out the holder distribution. The holder distribution looks like you got a bunch of whales. That can be a bit discouraging, for new holders to come in. So with that said, for this one, makes sense to set 2 alerts, so we're going to go ahead and do that. So let's go to market cap, and this one's sitting at 296. Nope, sorry, 269. 269K. So there we go. And on the over, we're going to go ahead and set this at 285. Okay. And then on the under, we're going to go ahead and set this at 220. Okay. So there we go. I think that's going to go ahead and do it for us in terms of all the tokens that we're going to go ahead and talk about today in terms of discovery. So we got some stuff to go ahead and take a look at. Obviously, we're going to see if anything moves overnight. If it does, then we'll talk about that, in the next video in the review portion. So thanks so much for watching, guys. Thank you so much. I know you guys got a ton of options, across the YouTube landscape, but certainly appreciate the fact that you go ahead and you are part of this channel, checking in with the series and being a part of it as well. If you think somebody can get some value, out of this series, make sure to share the channel with them. If you're not yet subscribed to the channel, please consider doing so. That's the only way that we're going to be able to get more of this content out to more people across the YouTube landscape, so they can go ahead and learn the same thing that you're learning, here in the Dexscreener series. So with that being said, thanks so much for watching, and you guys enjoy your day. I'll see you on the next video.